Hey guys, this is Miss Ross. I am here to talk to you about heat transfer. Okay, so first thing that you need to know every single time about the way that heat transfers. Okay, so heat, you know what that means, if it's hot, if it's warm. Okay, and transfer means how does it move? Okay, so heat always moves from, write this down and write it really big because your teachers are going to say it a million times from you. It always moves from something hot to something cold, all right? The heat always moves from the thing that is hot to the thing that is cold. Moves from hot to cold, hot to cold. All right, so we're going to talk about that a lot. Heat moves from things that are hot to things that are cold. All right, so there are three types of heat transfer, and the first one we're going to talk about today is conduction. Write this down. conduction. Conduction. All right, underneath conduction, I want you to write this. I want you to write conduction. Okay, because conduction happens when something that is hot touches, this is sadly enough, this is a hand. I know, oh, bless, that looks horrible. But that is supposed to be a hand. Okay, this is a hand. Okay, so this is when heat transfers by things that are touching each other. So let's write down our definition. Conduction is the flow of heat through items that touch. And I'm going to try it again to draw a hand. Okay, so we're going to go a thumb along. There we go. That kind of looks more like a hand. I don't know what happened here. Ignore that. Okay, so it's through things that are touching, and it doesn't have to always involve fingers. So I'm going to show you some examples of this. Okay, so in your kitchen, you guys have a stove. Some of you have gas stoves. Some of you have coil stoves. But you guys have all seen when you have a pot on top of a stove. Okay, so let's just say that this is your pot and that's your handle. The pot gets hot because it is touching the hot surface. Okay, so you get the little steam coming out because it is the heat transfers from the hot coils into the pot because it's moving from something hot to something cold. Let's write that. So heat transfers from the hot stove to the cool pot because heat moves from hot to cold, from hot to cold, from hot to cold. All right, let's do another one. Let's say you've got a mug of coffee or hot chocolate or whatever you like. Okay, so here's your little handle on it, and we're going to show that it's hot. Okay, and then here comes your little hand, and you wrap your little hand. I'm going to try to do a better job of drawing a hand this time. Not much better. Okay, so you put your hand on the hot mug, and what happens is that the heat moves from the mug the hot mug into your cooler hand. So that's why your hand warms up, because the heat is literally traveling into your hand. Because how does heat move? From hot to cold, from hot to cold, from hot to cold. So the cup is warming up your hand. The stove is warming up the pot. All right, here's another one. This one drives kids crazy when I tell them this, but it's totally true. I want you to draw some ice, okay? Draw ice. And then I want you to draw this on the ice. Miss Ross, what is that? That is a booty. This is a booty. And a lot of kids think that if you put your booty on the cold ice, that the ice is freezing your butt. But what is happening is the heat is actually traveling out of your booty if you put it on cold ice. So the heat travels out, not the cold travels in. The heat travels out. So write that down here. You can write that the heat transfers out of your booty. The heat transfers from the booty into the ice, okay? And that is why your booty gets cold, because you lose heat, not because you gain cold, because you lose heat. Miss Ross, I can't believe you drew a booty on there. I know, I love you. Okay, so the first type of heat transfer is conduction. Conduction is conduction, things that are touching. Touching a hot stove, touching a mug, booty to the ice. These things are touching each other. All right, so now I'm going to draw a little line here, and I like to draw a jagged line. Okay, and we're going to talk about the next type of heat transfer. Next type of heat transfer is convection. Write that down. Convection. And anytime you see the word convection, your teachers and I want you to do this. We want you to draw a circle with arrows that shows the heat rises and the cool is cold, sinks. The heat rises and the cool sinks. So let's write down our definition. Definition for convection is the flow of heat through liquids and gas. Okay, here's the important thing you need to know. The hot rises, R-I-S-E-S, and the cool sinks, C-O-O-L, the cool stuff sinks. Heat rises and the cool sinks. So what does that mean? Now remember, I told you that it's always through liquids and gases. So I'm going to give you a liquid example first. All right, first, draw yourself a fish tank. Okay, this is your fish tank. And in your fish tank, you've got across the bottom of your fish tank, you got the sand down here, the gravel down here. Yay, fishes. Of course, you have a fish in the middle. Draw your fish. He's beautiful. Okay, maybe his name is Charlie. I'm not really sure what his name is. And you usually got some grass in here. Got some little seaweeds over here. But also up here in the corner, if you are a responsible fish owner, you have a thing sticking down into your fish tank it has little coils in it like this. And this is a heater. It is a heater for your fish tank because fish don't like it cold. And what happens in that fish tank, the way the entire fish tank heats up, is that this heater heats, and then what happens is the hot water rises and the cool water sinks, and it circulates. And basically, those are called convection currents. It makes convection currents within the fish tank and mixes the water, and that's how it all becomes warmer. Okay, because the hot rises, the cool sinks, and it circulates until the entire fish tank feels pretty good. So let's write that down. It creates convection, write down currents. Convection currents. Okay, and that's what these swirly things are. Convection currents rise and fall. And every time you see the word convection, I want you to draw this symbol. All right, another example is, okay, I'm going to draw another pot, but be careful because this pot, sorry about that, my phone is ringing. Let me turn that off and I'll be right with y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is another pot. And yes, this one is on a stove as well, but we want to talk about what's happening inside the pot. Okay, so inside the pot, you've got water in here, and we're going to talk about how it heats. Now, the pot itself is heating up because it's touching the burner, but the water inside is heating up because the water on the bottom gets hot first, and it rises up to the top, and then the cool water at the top sinks down to the bottom. Rises at the top, sinks down to the bottom. And that creates a convection current. It's kind of like a swirl, okay? So convection currents in boiling water. All right. Then you've got, I'm going to give you an example of one that is gas. Okay, so you guys have all seen one of these big, huge balloons. They have them in the sky sometimes, and they're kind of open on the bottom. They have a basket hanging down. I'm sure that you guys have all seen these. These are called hot air balloons, okay? And people ride in the baskets, not Miss Ross, because I'm not crazy, but here's a person inside the basket. And what they have here is they have a gigantic heater that blows hot air up into the hot air balloon. And inside that hot air balloon, the heat rises and the cool air sinks, creating convection currents within the balloon. Okay? All right. So those are all examples of convection. All right, now we've got one more. I'm going to slide this up so that you can still see it. And I'm going to talk about the last example of heat transfer. All right, so the last example of heat transfer is radiation. I'm going to write that here, radiation. Now, radiation is why you get burned when you go to the beach. Okay, radiation. Whenever you see the word radiation, I want you to draw a picture of a sun. Okay, so I've got my sun here, and I've got some little pokies out here. Radiation comes from the sun. Radiation also comes from fire. So I've got fire here, and I'm going to make a campfire. I like to draw little logs. And I know Miss Ross doesn't draw very well, but you have to love me. I know you love me. You can't help it. Okay, so here's my campfire. I'm going to mix some yellow in there. Beautiful campfire. Okay, so this is sun and this is fire. So you're going to write this under here, sun and fire. Both of these put out radiated heat. Okay, so radiation is the flow of heat energy through space, okay? It's the flow of heat energy through space. Nothing has to touch. Now, you know you can get hot by standing next to a fire, right? You can get hot, this should be, say, not sprace, space. Okay. You know you can get hot just when you stand next to a fire. You know that you can warm up by just standing out in the sun. You don't actually have to touch the sun. Okay. So the heat travels in waves through the air. The heat travels in waves. All right. So write that down here. Heat travels in waves. Okay. So perfect example is the sun. You know, you can stand out in the sun outside on a sunny day, and it's putting off these rays that will cook you like a fried chicken. It surely will if you sit out there long enough. Okay, it will burn you. Another example is if you have a window And let's say you have a little seat in front of your window. And let's say here is Miss Boyce, and she's got her knees tucked up and she's reading a book in her hand. Okay, she's got her little book here. You know that when you sit in, and Miss Boyce, you got long hair. Okay, so when you sit in a window, you know that you can feel the sun's rays warming you up even though you aren't outside. The rays can penetrate the window because she's actually inside of this window. Let's make sure that you understand she's actually inside of it. Okay, so maybe she's sitting in a big bay window that has a window seat. Okay, she can still feel the sun because it's traveling in waves, electromagnetic waves through the window. Okay, and the last example obviously is the campfire. Okay, if you've got a campfire, I'm going to draw one here, and y'all forgive me, you know I don't draw very well. If you've got a campfire here, you don't have to be standing on top of the campfire. You don't even have to be touching the campfire, okay? You can be over here. Here is, we'll say this is Miss Cahoon. There she is. We'll give her a little ponytail because she's so cute. Okay, there's Miss Cahoon. Yee. Okay, she's over here. She's not even touching the fire. And she still says, I'm so warm. And she is warm because the heat is radiating through the air. That's the verb. The heat is radiating over to her, so she doesn't have to touch it. Okay? All right, so again, just as a quick review, coming back. Conduction is if the two items are touching and the heat always moves from something hot into something cold. Convection is the flow of heat through liquids and gas, and the heat rises and the cool sinks. So you got your fish tank with the heat, hot water rising, cool water sinking. You've got a pot of boiling water with the hot water rising, the cool water sinking. And remember we talked about gases? Heat rises in an air balloon and sinks, and the cold air sinks. This is the reason why sometimes those of you who have a 2-story house, the upstairs is really hot. And that's because the heat rises in the house. And then the last one is radiation. And this is the flow of heat energy through open space, okay? So it travels in waves from the sun, comes through a window, heats up Miss Cahoon, which she's standing over here. But most importantly, you need to remember that heat always moves from something hot to something cold, all right? Hot to cold, hot to cold. Yes, even from your cold, from your hot booty into the cold ice. The heat is literally leaving your booty, not the other way around. Same thing with the soft drink. If you've got a soft drink, here we'll draw it here. If you've got a soft drink and you were lucky enough that your soft drink has ice in it. Okay, let's say that this is your drink. When this ice melts, it's because the heat from the drink is moving into the cup, into the ice, okay? So the heat leaves the soda and enters the ice. And that is the reason why your soda cools off, because it's losing heat energy, okay? So heat always moves from the hot thing to the cold thing. All right, love you guys. That was a really long video. I hope you stuck with me. Bye.